The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, checkout scanners beeped, and the smell of reheated food drifted from the break room. But at register 4, something wasn't right. Madison Cole, 24, pressed a trembling hand against her stomach as she slid a pack of diapers across the scanner. Her lips were pale, her eyes glassy, because she hadn't eaten all day. Her own lunch sat unopened in her bag, saved for her baby at home. No one noticed, except the man watching from the corner, dressed in a faded jacket, ball cap low. He wasn't just another customer. He was the CEO who secretly owned the very chain she worked for. And what he saw that day would change both of their lives forever. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. Price check on diapers. Madison's voice cracked as she forced a smile at the impatient woman tapping her long nails against the counter. Her hands shook slightly as she scanned the items, moving faster, almost frantically. The pressure inside her chest wasn't just from the long shift. It was from the hunger clawing at her ribs. She hadn't eaten since dawn. Not because she didn't want to. Because she couldn't. Her baby needed that sandwich tucked in her purse. That was all the food left at home until her next paycheck. "Can you hurry it up?" the customer snapped, rolling her eyes. "Sorry," Madison murmured, her voice trembling, forcing herself to stay calm. Behind her, laughter erupted from the break room. Her co-workers were joking, sipping sodas, crunching chips. Their lives seemed so easy. Madison clenched her jaw, hiding the sting in her eyes as she bagged the groceries. But then, "Are you okay?" The voice was deep, steady, cutting through the noise. Madison froze. She glanced up. It was the man in the faded jacket. Mid-30s, unshaven jaw, sharp eyes that seemed to see straight through her fake smile. His hands rested casually on the counter, but there was nothing casual about his gaze. "I'm fine," Madison whispered, lowering her head. "Just a long shift." The man tilted his head slightly. His eyes flicked to her bag, the edge of the sandwich wrapper sticking out, untouched. His brow tightened, but he didn't push. Not yet. When her shift finally ended, Madison slipped outside into the cold night. Her sneakers scuffed the cracked pavement as she reached into her bag, pulling out the sandwich. Her hands trembled as she stared at it. Every cell in her body screamed to eat, but she couldn't. "This is for Lily," she whispered, pressing it back into the wrapper. "Wait." Her breath caught. She turned sharply. The man from the store stood a few steps away, holding a brown paper bag. Steam rose from the top, carrying the smell of warm soup and fresh bread. I don't need charity," Madison stammered, her throat tight. His eyes softened. "This isn't charity. This is one human being refusing to let another starve in silence." Madison froze, clutching the strap of her purse. Nobody had ever said words like that to her. Nobody had noticed her pain before. She shook her head, tears prickling at her lashes. "I can't accept this." "You can," he said firmly, pressing the bag into her hands. "Because no mother should go hungry so her child can eat." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She just stood there, caught between shame and relief, the warmth of the bag in her trembling hands. For the first time in months, she didn't feel invisible. The paper bag in Madison's trembling hands felt heavier than gold. She wanted to push it back into the stranger's arms, to insist she didn't need help, but her body betrayed her. The steam curling from the soup carried a warmth she hadn't felt in weeks. Her throat tightened. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. The man's jaw shifted. He didn't look away. "Because I can't walk past someone who's clearly fighting battles no one else sees." Madison's lips trembled. Battles. He had no idea how right he was. Every morning she woke up to the sound of her baby crying. And before she even brushed her teeth, she was calculating diapers, formula, rent, bus fare, like a soldier planning survival. She forced herself to swallow the lump in her throat. Look, I don't know you, and I'm not some charity case. He nodded slowly, his gaze steady. I didn't say you were. Then, softer, I said you're stronger than anyone realizes. Madison's chest burned with an ache she hadn't expected. She wanted to snap back, to tell him he didn't understand, but instead she found herself gripping the bag tighter. She muttered a shaky, "Thanks," and turned to walk away before her tears betrayed her. At home, her one-bedroom apartment smelled faintly of baby powder and damp laundry. Lily was asleep in her crib, her tiny chest rising and falling with soft breaths. Madison placed the bag of food on the counter and leaned against the peeling wall, staring at it. Her body screamed to eat, but her mind replayed the stranger's words. No mother should go hungry so her child can eat. For the first time in a long time, she ate. Slowly, carefully. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she sipped the soup. It wasn't just food, it was dignity. A reminder she wasn't completely alone. The next day, Madison returned to work, cheeks burning every time she caught herself glancing toward the entrance, half hoping, half dreading he'd be there. She hated how exposed she felt. By mid-morning, the store was packed. She was ringing up groceries when a familiar voice spoke. "Morning." Her heart skipped. She looked up. There he was again. Faded jacket, baseball cap, sharp eyes. This time, though, there was a faint smile tugging at his lips. Madison straightened, forcing a professional tone. "Back for more groceries?" "Maybe," he said. His eyes flicked over her hands, the way they shook slightly as she bagged items. "Maybe just back to check on someone." Her cheeks flushed. "I don't need checking on." He didn't argue. He just slid a carton of milk and a loaf of bread across the counter, his gaze never leaving hers. When she handed him the receipt, his fingers brushed hers. Just a whisper of contact. "You're doing better today," he said simply, then left. Madison stood frozen, her chest tight. Better? She wasn't sure she even knew what that word meant anymore. That night, the storm rolled in. Madison hurried home, clutching her umbrella against the wind. By the time she reached her apartment, her clothes were soaked through. She set Lily in her crib and rubbed the baby's tiny back until her daughter drifted off again. A knock rattled the door. Her stomach dropped. It was nearly 10 at night. Nobody ever came by. She hesitated, heart pounding, then cracked the door open. It was him. "Sorry," he said, standing under the dripping awning, holding a large cardboard box. Rain beaded on his jacket. "I didn't mean to scare you." Madison's eyes narrowed. How do you even know where I live?" "I asked around," he admitted, shifting uncomfortably. "Don't be mad, He lifted the box slightly. "These are for you." She blinked. Inside were diapers, formula, baby wipes, cereal, and canned food. Her chest tightened. "You can't keep doing this. People will think—" "Let them think," he interrupted firmly. His eyes burned with something fierce, something that made her step back. "You don't get it, do you? No one else here sees what I see. A woman breaking her back to hold her world together, and I refuse to let that go unnoticed." Madison's voice cracked. "Why? Why me?" His jaw clenched. He looked away for the first time, staring at the storm-slick pavement. "Because I know what it's like. Years ago, I was the one going without meals so my little brother could eat. Someone stepped in for me when I had nothing. I swore if I ever had the chance, I'd do the same for someone else. Her tears spilled, unrestrained. She pressed a hand to her mouth, shaking. He set the box gently at her feet. You don't have to trust me. You don't even have to like me. But please, don't shut me out. Not when I know what it's like to feel invisible. For a long moment, Madison stood frozen, her heart in her throat. She wanted to slam the door, to keep the fragile walls around her heart intact. But then Lily stirred in her crib, whimpering softly. Madison glanced back, then down at the box of essentials. Her pride warred with her desperation. Finally, her voice came out in a whisper. Thank you. His shoulders eased slightly, as if that one word mattered more than anything. He gave a faint nod, stepping back into the rain. Good night, Madison. Her breath caught. He knew my name. The door clicked shut, but her world no longer felt the same. For the first time in months, Madison lay awake in bed, not with dread, but with a strange, terrifying flicker of hope. And she didn't even know the full truth about the man who had just stepped into her life. Madison's chest was pounding as she walked into work the next morning. Her hands clutched her apron strap so tightly her knuckles ached. She hadn't slept much. Her mind replayed every word the stranger had spoken, every act of kindness he had shown her. But kindness came with a price, and she had learned the hard way. People who helped you always expected something back. So why did this man feel different? She shook the thought away, forcing herself to focus. The store was buzzing. Customers lined up, the beep of scanners echoed, and the smell of coffee from the cafe corner lingered in the air. Madison? Her manager barked. Office, now. Her stomach dropped. Oh no. Had someone complained? Did they think she was taking free handouts from a customer? Shame burned her cheeks as she walked down the hallway, every step heavier than the last. When she entered the cramped office, she froze. Her manager sat stiffly at the desk, but he wasn't alone. The man in the faded jacket, except it wasn't the faded jacket anymore. He wore a crisp, tailored suit. The baseball cap was gone. His hair was neatly styled, his sharp features commanding the room. Madison's breath caught. You. The manager quickly stood, voice tight with nerves. Madison, this is Mr. Hayes. He's the owner of this entire chain. The words slammed into her like a punch. The owner. Her pulse thundered. All the moments came rushing back, the soup, the groceries, the way he looked at her like he saw right through her walls. She staggered back a step, her voice barely a whisper. You're my boss? His gaze softened, but his tone carried quiet authority. I'm more than your boss, Madison. I'm someone who needed to see the truth inside these walls. And I saw it in you. Her chest heaved. Humiliation, gratitude, and fear crashed together like a storm. So what was this? Some kind of test? Were you watching me struggle for your entertainment? His eyes flashed with hurt. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Don't you dare think that. I wasn't testing you. I was learning from you. You reminded me why I started this company in the first place. Madison's lips trembled. She glanced at the manager, whose face was pale, caught between confusion and terror. Mr. Hayes, if she's done something wrong, the manager began. She hasn't, Hayes cut in sharply. His voice was steel. But you have. You've let employees like Madison go unnoticed, unsupported, and overworked. That ends today. The manager's mouth snapped. Shut. Madison's knees felt weak. I don't understand, she whispered. Why me? Hayes exhaled slowly, his gaze never leaving hers. Because you're everything this place was supposed to stand for. Hard work, sacrifice, strength. You've been carrying burdens alone that no one should face. And still you show up every day, giving more than you get. I can't ignore that. Tears pricked her eyes. You don't even know me. I know enough, he said firmly. Then he slid a folder across the desk toward her. Her shaking hands opened it. Her eyes scanned the words and froze. It was an offer letter, a new position, better pay, benefits, a schedule that would let her be with Lily more. Her throat closed. This can't be real. It is, Hayes said, his tone softening again. And it's only the beginning. I don't want you scraping by, Madison. I want you leading. I want people to see what I see when I look at you. Her hands trembled around the paper. I don't know what to say. Say yes, he urged. Then his voice dropped, carrying the weight of every sleepless night she'd endured. Say yes, and promise me one thing, that never again will you go hungry so your baby can eat. From now on, you'll have both. The dam inside her broke. Tears streamed down her face as she sank into the chair. All the months of silent suffering, all the humiliation of being invisible, all the fear of not being enough. It spilled out in sobs she couldn't hold back. Hayes didn't look away. He didn't flinch. He just stood there, steady, letting her cry, giving her the space she hadn't realized she needed. When she finally lifted her head, her voice was hoarse. Why are you really doing this? Out of everyone, why me? He leaned forward, his voice low but steady. Because years ago, I was where you are, and someone saved me. I swore I'd spend the rest of my life paying that forward. And now, it's your turn. You're not a burden, Madison. You're proof that strength can come from the darkest places. And I need people like you by my side. The room went silent, the weight of his words sinking into her bones. For the first time in years, Madison didn't feel like a cashier struggling at the edge of survival. She felt seen. She felt valued. And maybe, just maybe, she felt hope. That night, as she rocked Lily to sleep, Madison pressed her lips to her daughter's soft forehead. For the first time in forever, her whisper didn't carry despair. It carried a promise. We're gonna be okay, baby. Mommy's not invisible anymore. The storm outside her life had finally begun to break. And Madison knew sometimes kindness doesn't just change a day. Sometimes it changes an entire future.